Development in religion. Objectives. The purpose of this unit is to briefly discuss the development of the religions in India during the post-modern period. After reading this unit, you should be able to understand the stages of change which Buddhism and Jainism went through during this period. Understand the nature of Brahmanism, know about the growth of religious sects associated with Shaivism and Vaishnavism, and follow how new ideas are assimilated by these religions. Introduction. In unit number 17, you read about the rise of Buddhism and Jainism and their developments up to 200 BC. In this unit, we take into account the conditions and developments of various religions during 200 BC to AD 300. The political situation of the post-modern period, that is, the rise of the Sanghas, Satavahanas, and the appearance of such ruling powers as those of the Indo-Greeks, Saka Pratihars, and the Kushanas in the northwest, influenced to an extent the course of religion during this period. For example, after the patronage which Buddhism received from Ashoka, there was royal support to Brahmanism under the Sanghas. Similarly, the liberal social attitude of Buddhism made the absorption of foreigners into Indian society comparatively easy, thus leading to social assimilation. This assimilation could very well have influenced the support extended to Buddhism by the Indo-Greeks. We already know that Buddhism had a large following among the merchant communities. Hence, an increase in trade and commerce during this period helped the growth of Buddhism. The traders, though involved in trade, also left traces of their personal religions in the areas that they visited. We will see how all these aspects brought changes in the religions of the period. This period witnessed certain changes in Orthodox Brahmanism and also in the appearance of certain sects associated with Shaivism and Vaishnavism. Thus, the major points of change in religion in the post-modern period were: after the fall of the modern empire, Buddhism probably faced some hostility from the Sanghas, but gradually it established a large network of centers and started expanding to neighboring countries. Buddhism started to split into distinct groups on the basis of ideological and theological differences, the major ones being the Mahayana and Hinayan. Jainism too acquired a following and had its own organization, although it was not as widespread as Buddhism. With Jainism too, there were differences, and they finally led to the division of the Jain order into two major groups, that is the Shvetambars and the Digambars. What is known as a Brahmanical religion, which is distinguished sharply from heterodox beliefs like Buddhism and Jainism, became very different in this period with the popularity of Vaishnav and Shaiva sects. Both orthodox and heterodox religious beliefs assimilated ideas from both inside and outside the country. Some common elements like deification of human beings and worship of images came to characterize both orthodox and heterodox religions. Buddhism. The growth of Buddhism had suffered a minor setback during the Sangha Kanva period. This was because both the Sanghas and Kanvas who succeeded the Mauryas in the Magda professed Brahmanical faith. The Buddhist work Divya Vadan accuses Pushyamitra Sangha as a veritable enemy of Buddhism. It is said that he attempted to destroy the Kukuta Arama monastery at Patliputra. According to this source, he also fixed a price of 100 dinars for the head of every monk. However, although these rulers may have been personally opposed to Buddhism, it does not mean that social support to Buddhism declined on any significant scale. In fact, the Bharat Stupa in central India was built during the rule of the Shangas. The Sanchi Stupa was enlarged twice its size, and the gateways, that is Toran, and the railings were added in their period only. The version of Divya Vadan seems to be highly exaggerated, but there is no doubt that the kind of royal patronage Buddhism had enjoyed during the Maurya's rule was no more there at the time of the Sanghas and the Kanvas. Expansion and patronage. We notice expansion of Buddhism in all parts of India during the period 200 BC to 300 AD. Buddhism gained a strong foothold in the northwest India. Many of the foreigners like the Indo-Greeks and the Kushanas who invaded India during this time accepted Buddhism. Among the Indo-Greek kings, it was Menander, who figures prominently as the ruler, who was drawn towards the doctrines of Buddhism. He accepted Buddhism. He is called King Milind of Sakal in the Buddhist work, which gives the story of how he was converted. This work, known as Milind Pana, Question of Milind, was written in the form of a dialogue between Menander and the Buddhist monk Nagasena. Many Kushana kings adopted Buddhism. For example, Kujula Cadphises and Kanishka I were followers of Buddhism. It was in Kanishka's rule that Buddhism reached a supreme position. During this period, the fourth Buddhist council was convened on the advice of Parsava, the Buddhist monk. Though there is some controversy regarding the place of the meeting, it is generally accepted on the evidence of many contemporary authorities that it was held somewhere in Kashmir. Vasumitra acted as its president. A thorough discussion took place on some difficult pages of the on some difficult passages of the scriptures, and these discussions were compiled in the form of commentaries known as Vibhasha Sastras. It was in this council that Buddhism got split into Hinayan and Mahayana. Kanishka I helped to propagate Buddhism in different parts of the country. For example, he built a stupa and a monastery at Peshawar, which served as a great center of Buddhist learning and culture. However, in this period, monks from India carried the doctrines of Buddha also to Central Asian China. In the Deccan, the Satvana kings and Kshatrap rulers of Western India patronized Buddhism. Many stupas were built and were endowed with munificent gifts. For example, the Amravati stupa was enlarged and enclosed in richly carved marble slabs in the days of Satvana king Pulumavi. Along the western coast, many caves were excavated on the western ghats by the Satvanas and the Kshatraps. They functioned as shelters for Buddhist monks and as monasteries. These rock-cut caves are found at places like Nasik, Karle, Bhaj, Gunnar, Kaneri, etc. Some traces of Buddhism are also noticed in the Tamil country during this period. The early cave inscriptions from the Tamil country refer to some places occupied by the Buddhists. These inscriptions also record donations by the lay worshippers. Rise of Mahayana Buddhism. The growth of Mahayana Buddhism contributed to the further development of Buddhism as a popular faith all over India and beyond her frontiers. The religious emotions of a number of people with different origins and cultural affiliations gradually transformed Buddha into God. In the early centuries of the Christian era, the installation and worship of Buddha images came into vogue. This paved the way for the advent of Mahayana Buddhism. Mahayana Buddhism originated in about the 1st century BC in the Andhra region. It became a recognizable form of Buddhism at the time of Kanishka and then spread all over North India in the 1st and the 2nd centuries AD. However, due to the opposition from the Orthodox Buddhism, it could not make much headway in the beginning. It was with the advent of Nagarjuna, the most outstanding exponent of Mahayana, that it started gaining popularity. Although Mahayana Buddhism originated in the 1st century BC, the formal division of the Buddhists sunk into Hinayan and Mahayana on the basis of sharp doctrinal differences seems to have taken place after the 4th Buddhist council at the time of Kanishka I. Literally, Hinayan means lesser vehicle and Mahayans greater vehicle. But these were terms which were invented to show the superiority of Mahayana over Hinayan. The essential difference lay in the Mahayana belief, first preached by the Buddhist sect called Mahasangika, that every being could aspire to Buddhahood and could attain it through various stages as Bodhisattva. One could become a Bodhisattva by performing the meritorious acts or paramitas. Other features associated with Mahayana faith are belief in Shunyata or void, belief in Shunyata or void or non-reality of objects, belief in mantras, belief in numerous Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and the practice of worshipping gods and goddesses. Most of these beliefs and practices, the Hinayanists thought, were not expounded by the Buddha himself. They also thought that it was not practical to teach that the ideal of Buddhahood could be attained by every being. Sects. With the spread of Buddhism to different parts of the country, many sects appeared. For example, the Theravadins had their center of activity at Kausambi, Mathura was the center of the Sarvativadins, and the Bhadrayanika sect flourished in the Nashik and Kanheri. The origin of these sects may not have been originally due to differences in the doctrines. In fact, what contributed to their origin and growth were factors related to geographical diversities of the country, attitudes of various communities at the local level, and perhaps lack of coordination between the various exponents of the sects. Under the Satvanas, the Dhanyakataka, Amravati region became the most important stronghold of Mahayana Buddhism, whereas the Sthaviravadins were popular in the north. These sects brought about certain changes in Buddhism. Some of these were: whereas early Buddha was considered as a teacher only. Now in the Mahayana sect, he was worshipped as God. This brought about a change in the form in which he was worshipped. For example, earlier in sculpture, he was represented through a pair of footprints, a white elephant and a flower, etc. But now, people begin to worship Buddha, images and idols. The concepts of Bodhisattva also underwent a change. For example, according to one sect, the Bodhisattva was an incarnation of the Buddha, whereas another sect depicted Bodhisattva as an unselfish individual working for the good of all. Now the idea of successive rebirths was strengthened. It emphasized that one could accumulate merit through successive births. Merit now could also be transferred from one person to another person by conducting appropriate pious acts. Centers. The earlier religious and pilgrimage centers remained as popular centers even in this period. Bharat, Bodh Gaya and Sanchi continue to be celebrated places of pilgrimage during the Sangha period and later. Purushpura was a great center of Buddhist culture under the Kushanas. However, Takshila continued to be the most important center in this region. In fact, in the entire region of Gandhar, which included Purushpura and Takshila, Buddhism was so important that it gave rise to a regional school of art called Gandhara art. Mathura was a major center of Buddhism and, like Gandhar, produced its own school of art. Bodhisattva images of Mathura were taken to far off places. In western Deccan, Nasik, Kaneri and Karle, numerous other monasteries were excavated on the hills during this period and provided residence to Buddhist monks. In the eastern Deccan, Amravati and Nagarjunakonda were the famous centers where Buddhist art flourished. The Mahachaitya of Nagarjunakonda was a place of pilgrimage among the Buddhists all over India. Some of these centers developed into great education centers also. For example, Takshila, Mathura, Banaras and Nalanda emerged as centers of Buddhist learning. Takshila attracted students from many parts of the country. It offered the highest learning in humanities, sciences, crafts, martial arts, law and medicine. Jainism. Jainism did not spread as fast as Buddhism. Further, royal patronage to Jainism was not as extensive as it was in the case of Buddhism. In spite of these difficulties, the monks were active and organized missions to spread Jainism. By the early centuries of the Christian era, it had consolidated its position in India. But Jainism, unlike Buddhism, did not attempt to spread its doctrines outside India. Spread and patronage. Generous patronage was extended to Jainism by some kings, and the name of Kharvel, the ruler of Kalinga, stands foremost in this regard. Not only he and his queen practiced Jainism, but they dedicated some caves for the use of the Jain monks in the Udayagiri hills. In the Kushana period, Jainism was popular in Mathura. The Mathura school of art produced many images of the Tirthankars and other objects of worship for the Jainas. In the Tamil country, the Tamil kings dedicated some caves to the Jainas. Athiyan Neduman Anji dedicated a cave to the Jainas at Jambai in South Arcot district. The cave at Sitanavasal, that is Pudukkottai district, was dedicated by the local people to a Jain monk. This indicates the popularity of the Jain faith among the people of that region. Jain monks organized many missions to spread Jainism. These missions were originally intended to provide relief and shelter to Jain monks who were suffering from famine or drought. However, these relief missions ultimately turned into religious missions for the spread of Jainism. The first such mission was organized in the Mauryan period. According to tradition, Bhadrabahu, contemporary of Chandragupta Maurya, migrated to provide shelter to the monks. He, with the kings of Chandragupta Maurya, went south and established a center at Shravanbelgol in Karnataka. From this place, however, these relief missions ultimately turned into religious missions for the spread of Jainism. The first such mission was organized in the Mauryan period. According to tradition, Bhadrabahu, contemporary of Chandragupta Maurya, migrated to provide shelter to the monks. He, with the king Chandragupta Maurya, went south and established a center at Shravanbelgol in Karnataka. From this place, the Jainas spread to different parts of the Tamil country and the Andhra region. A Svetambar tradition mentions in the time of Kharvel the migration of Jain monks from Magda to the eastern Andhra coast. This tradition is supported by a late inscription from Hathigumpa cave on the Udayagiri hills near Bhubaneswar. Another tradition mentions the migration of Jains to Mathura. The ruins of the Kankali Tila at Mathura and a number of dedicatory inscriptions testify to the existence of Jainism in Mathura during the 1st centuries AD. The story of Kalkacharya refers to the movement of Jainas to Malwa as early as the 1st century BC. From the evidence of Junagadh inscription, it is clear that by the early centuries of the Christian era, Jainism had spread to Gujarat. Sects. The Shwetambar and Digambar sects were known from as early as 2nd century BC. Those who discarded all garments and went about naked were called Digambars, and those who wore a white garment were called Shwetambars. There is very little doctrinal differences between these two sects. This continued in this period also. The Yapaniya developed as another Jain sect around the 1st century AD. It was probably founded by Kalsh, a monk of Shwetampar sect at Kalyannagar. A significant feature of this sect was that it thought that even women could attain moksha and that Kevalins should take their food in morsels. By and large, Jainism remained faithful to its original doctrines, and hence the number of its adherents remained fairly constant. Centers. Among the many Jain centers, Rajgriha or Rajgir developed into an important center during the 1st and 2nd centuries AD. Vajramuni of the Shwetampar sect was associated with this place. Mathura was another important center. From the sculptures found in Mathura and from the dedicated inscriptions on them, it is evident that the merchant class patronized Jainism here on a significant scale. It continued to be an important center of Jainism for many centuries. According to late tradition, Ujjain was another important center of Jainism in this period. In the northwest, Sirkap in Takshila grew into a Jain center from the early centuries of the Christian era in addition to being a major Buddhist center. It had a large Jain establishment. Similarly, Broch and Sopara on the west coast were great centers and monks frequented there. In Odisha, Udaygiri and Khandagiri hills near Bhubaneswar were other centers from the Mauryan rhymes, and they continued to flourish even after the rule of Kharvel. In the Tamil country, Madurai and Sittanavasal may be considered as important centers. Large Jain establishments existed at these places in the 2nd century BC and afterwards. Brahmanism. It has already been mentioned that Brahmanism received support from several kings during this period. Contemporary sources refer to the performance of certain Vedic rituals by the kings. For example, Pushyamitra Sangha performed 2 horse sacrifices, Ashwamedh Yajna. Satkarni I of the Satvana dynasty performed Ashwamedh, Rajasuya and a few other sacrifices. The Chol and the Pandya chiefs of the Tamil country are also said to have performed many sacrifices. New developments. Brahmanism too acquired many new features during this period, and we see the gradual crystallization of what may be called Puranic Hinduism. The central feature of this was worship of gods and goddesses and not performance of sacrifices. For example, the idea of a supreme deity gained strength, and this deity was either Vishnu or Shiva. This sharply divided the religious pantheon into 2 groups and led to the development of Shaivism and Vaishnavism. Though both the sects believed that salvation could be attained only by devotion or bhakti, there was a sharp division among the devotees of the 2 deities. There also arose the concept of Trinity of gods. All the gods in the Brahmanical pantheon were now grouped under 3 major gods, with Brahma as the creator, Vishnu as the protector, and Shiva as the destroyer. Though these 3 deities had their origins in the Vedic age, their importance and significance rose to new heights in this period. While Shiva and Vishnu attracted a large following, in the case of Brahma, it was not so. The characteristic changes apparent in this period were the shift from the pure ritual to bhakti or devotion and assimilation of some of the local traditions into the Brahmanical religion. Vaishnavism, for example, absorbed a number of different gods like the Vedic Vishnu, deified sage Narayan, and deified heroes Vasudeva and Balaram. The epic heroes Ram and Krishna were accepted, and they gained an enviable position among the Brahmanical deities. The Tamil deities mentioned in the Sangam literature were adopted into the Brahmanical faith. In the same way, some of the local deities of North India were also admitted into the Brahmanical pantheon. Other deities. A variety of deities were also worshipped. Among them, Brahma, Agni, Surya and Indra were some of the popular ones. The 4 guardian deities, Dikpalas, namely Yam, Varun, Kuber and Vasava, were also worshipped. Besides these, animals like elephant, horse and cow were worshipped. The Nag or serpent worship was popular in almost all parts of the country, and many trees and tree spirits were also worshipped. Shaivism. The origin of Shaivism can be traced back to the pre-Vedic times, and by the early centuries of the Christian era, it was a popular sect in almost all parts of the country. Shiva was the principal deity of this sect and was worshipped in the linga, that is phallus form. This form of worship seems to have been popular from the beginning of the Christian era. Shiva was also worshipped in his human form, the descriptions of which are found in some literary texts. Shaivism also received some royal support during this period. Among the Kushana kings, Vema Cadphises was an ardent devotee of Shiva. On the reverse of his coins is found a representation of Shiva holding a trident. Although Kanishka was a Buddhist, the reverse of the some type of his coins bore the image of Shiva. Worship of Shiva was very popular in the Deccan from the early days. We find reference to Shiva worship in the Prakrit text. Gatha Saptasati of the Satvana king Hala and one of the earliest stone sculptures of the linga comes from the eastern Andhra Pradesh. In the Tamil country, Shaivism was well rooted. The Tamil Sangam works refer to Shiva as the greatest of all gods. Mamudu Mudalvan. Many of these exploits and his attributes are known from the Sangam works, which also mention his form and other qualities. For example, he is described as having matted hair and wearing tiger skin. He was also known as the deity who destroyed the three heavenly cities, Tripurantaka. Along with Shiva, many other deities were also worshipped and thus came to be formed the Shaivite pantheon. Shiva's consort Parvati assumed a place of importance and was adorned as Shakti. The idea that from her emanated all energy was now introduced. She was also considered the mother of Skand and Ganesh. She was worshipped in her ferocious form as Durga. In the Satvana kingdom, she was also worshipped as Gauri, another form of Parvati. Skand worship became popular in this period. He was regarded as the son of Shiva. He was identified with the leader of the forces of gods. Kartikeya and Kumar were identified with him. In the Tamil country, he was worshipped in the Muruga form. Many of his attributes and his temples are known from the Sangam literature. A less popular deity in this period was Ganesh, the elder brother of Skand. He was the leader of the Ganas, host of Shiva, and was also known as Vinayak. Among the Saiva sect, the most popular and well represented sect was the Pashupata sect. It was started by Lakulis in Gujarat sometimes in the 2nd century AD. And Pashupata sect and the Pashupat ascetics spread to different parts of the country. Shiva was worshipped in the form of Pashupati. The Kapalika and Kalamukha sects developed much later. All these sects emphasized that Shiva was the supreme god. Vaishnavism was another popular sect of Brahmanism followed by a large group of people in all parts of India. The principal deity of this sect was Vishnu, who is referred to as the protector in the Brahminical religion. The cult of Vishnu in the early period was known by the name Bhagavatism, which was developed from the Vedic cult Vasudeva Krishna. Bhagavatism owed its origin to the Upanishads. It arose around the Mathura region. It stressed upon the idea of the supreme god called Hari, and sacrifices and other rituals were regarded as of minor importance. Devotion to Vishnu was considered as a supreme virtue. For quite some time, it was confined to the Mathura region. By the beginning of the Christian era, it spread to different regions in India. Inscriptions testifying to the worship of Vasudeva are found in Maharashtra, Rajputana, and central India. Vasudeva, who was the central figure in the Bhagavad cult, came to acquire an important position in the Brahminical pantheon. Earlier, he was considered equal to deities like Dharma and Indra. In the 2nd century AD, in the Satvana kingdom, Gautami Putra Satkarni was described as equal to Balaram, Keshav, Arjun, and Bhimsen, the epic heroes. It was some time before the 2nd century BC that the Vishnu and Narayan were united and identified as one deity. This kind of amalgamation probably helped Brahmanism to check the spread of Buddhism. The Bhagavad cult, centering around the worship of Vasudeva and others, was also part of Vaishnavism. Kings like Demetrius and Menander were followers of Buddhism, but some of the Indo-Greeks also embraced Bhagavatism. For example, the Besnagar pillar inscription, we know that Heliodorus of Takshashila, that is Takshila, who was an envoy of Indo-Greek king Antialcidas, Antiochus, to the court of Sangha ruler, was a follower of the Bhagavad cult and erected a pillar with Garuda, the emblem of Vishnu, at Besnagar, that is Bidisha near Bhopal, in honor of the Vasudev. In the Tamil country, also the worship of the Vishnu was very popular. His different qualities and attributes are mentioned in the Tamil Sangam works. He is identified with Krishna. He was also worshipped in his avatars, that is incarnations, as Ram and Balram. Vishnu, the chief deity of the Vaishnava sect, had manifested himself in many avatars. Vishnu was thus worshipped also in his avatar forms. Krishna, Ram and Balram were most respected avatars of Vishnu, but other avatars like Narsimha and Varaha were also worshipped. The emblems associated with Vishnu were also worshipped. Thus, Garuda, the Vahana of the Vishnu, and Chakra, the circular weapon, came to be held in veneration. Garuda, his emblem, was worshipped, and pillars with Garuda emblem were set up to mark a place as sacred for the Vaishnavas. Lakshmi, Vishnu's consort, was also now worshipped. Many of Vaishnava religious ideas occur in the epics Ramayana and the Mahabharata. Some of the most important ideas, like the theory of karma, are explained in the Bhagavad Gita, a work supposed to have been incorporated in Mahabharata during this period. It emphasized that one has to do his worldly duties according to one's status in the society as prescribed in the scriptures. This was expected to ultimately lead him to liberation. Now let us sum up. In unit number 17, you have read that the period around the 6th century BC, Buddhism, Jainism and other heterodox sects emerged as a challenge to Brahminical orthodoxy. But by the 2nd century AD, these heterodox movements had witnessed many changes and developments and assumed complex forms. Though royal patronage existed in some cases, the main initiative for their spread came mainly from the monks and preachers. This period witnessed a revival of Brahmanism, which assimilated certain ideas from other religions. The number of deities increased. Many earlier prominent deities lost their importance, whereas many others gained importance. An important development in Brahminical religion was the emergence of various cults, Shaiva and Vaishnava being the prominent ones.